going to show you how to rebloom your orchid. First off, make sure your pot has drainage. Next, make sure your plant has a nice wide view of the sky. Get down on its level and make sure it's looking at
If it's a hot window, scooch it back a bit so leaves don't burn.
Or west-facing window if you're in the northern hemisphere. If the roots in your pot are green, don't water. If the roots in your pot look like this, silver, then it's time to water. And only water the roots. You don't need to water the leaves at all. If your orchid is blooming, no need to fertilize. If your orchid is not blooming, fertilize with an orchid-specific food. In 3 to 12 months, you should have a happy, blooming orchid.
I just came back from a trip and no one took care of my plants. There were a few dead leaves and this plant died. I was so sad, but look who was here to greet me when I came back. She hasn't grown since I got her. I'm so happy.
I get a lot of questions about how I get my pothos plants to grow so long, and they didn't always grow this fast, but recently I've been doing something a little bit different that has helped them grow way faster. I'm not a plant expert by any means, but this has just worked for me. Instead of just letting them hang down, I started propping them up to the ceiling with these little white hooks. Because pothos like this won't climb on their own, they need a little bit of a boost. Eventually, they'll start climbing through these little hooks that you put up. You could also use command hooks. That's a good option too. And I also just water them once a week consistently on the same day and make sure they have really good drainage. To water them, I like to take them down fully, put them in my sink and soak the soil, and then let them drain completely before putting them back. All right, so here's how I water my DIY blooming table. I made the glass piece on top easily removable, so I just take that off when I'm gonna water. And I also designed the table with a bunch of drainage. So I use this like metal mesh material so that the whole thing can drain. And then I filled the table with some gravel so that there's no soil fall through. This also allows for good drainage. I thought about creating a tray to catch the water, but it was gonna be a little bit more complicated, and I already just move all my plants into my shower to water them, so I just did the same for this. And I shower them with some water, let them fully drain, and then I can just put it back. And a few other questions I got a lot were, does the soil fall through? No, it doesn't. The rocks keep it in. And second is, does it drip on my floor? And no, it doesn't if I let it fully drain in my shower or outside, wherever I water it. Here are 3 reasons why I use Ruggable rugs. Number 1, they don't slide. Believe me, I tried a lot and failed miserably. Number 2, they're really easy to clean because they're machine washable. So you can plant plants on them or spill coffee or spill wine and you won't have any problems getting it out. And the third reason, and the most important to me, is that they are animal friendly. So they're perfect for a girl with 2 cats and lots of plants. Not to mention they're super freaking cute and you can use my discount code for 10% off.
Really bad time lately. And I put a potato in a cup of
So this plant's been in the corner of shame, aka quarantine corner, because it had spider mites. And it's finally ready to be out of quarantine. And it grew its big leaf really tall while I was in quarantine, which was very strange because all the other leaves have been short. And then I realized it's giving me the middle finger. So I didn't know there was going to be another pot inside when I started repotting. I realized that the original nursery pot was not coming off. I thought it was just super root bound, so I had to cut off the nursery pot from the outside of it. But pretty quickly I realized that this was going to be a little bit more complicated than a normal repot. I couldn't tell how much of the original roots were inside that pot. From what I could tell, it seemed like a fair amount of them were in there, but it was really hard to tell how wrapped up the roots were. So I started cutting out the pot bit by bit, untangling what I could, but then I realized pretty quickly that the plant itself had started punching its roots through the sides of the pot and out any of the holes in the bottom of the pot. So I had to really untangle it all the way around so that way I could pull the pot out after removing as much as I could of anything that was attached to the plant itself. I was able to get it out, and the plant seems happy now.
Something extremely rare happened to me. There is a 1 in 100,000 chance of this ever happening. I planted some Monstera deliciosa seeds. This is what they normally look like. They're a bright green color. However, one of them sprouted with completely white variegation. This is usually known as a ghost leaf or seedling. However, there is a sad end to this story. Plants need chlorophyll to photosynthesize. Without any green on the leaves, they have to live off of nutrients from the soil and will eventually die. But it's cool to enjoy while it lasts.
I have 50 plants in my 700 square foot apartment. So many of my friends always message me on Instagram asking me what plants I recommend that are easy to take care of, that won't die, that will look good in their apartment. Here are 5 of my favorite plants. Number 1, this is a Scindaptus Pictus argyrius. This thing grows like an absolute weed. I have to cut it back all the time, and it's just so easy to take care of, and I love how it trails. ZZ plants are pretty common, but this is a ZZ raven plant, which means that the plant actually comes out green and then turns black. You could water this like once a month, put it in a dark corner, it'll totally be fine. Next is a philodendron micans, which has this beautiful velvety leaves. I'm actually training mine to grow up this pole, but you can also just have it hang like a trailing plant. I'm also a huge fan of syngoniums. There's so many varieties. This is a syngonium variegated albo, and it's beautiful. As you can tell, they're just so low maintenance. Lastly, this is my Rhaphidophora tetrasperma. This guy honestly grows like a weed. I barely do anything to it, and it's perfect. Like for part 2.
Watch what it does when you touch its seed pods.
What's a random fact that only you know because of your weird specific job?
Let me introduce you to the Victoria water platter, one of the most amazing plants in the world. The Victoria water platters are native to the tropics of South America and related to water lilies. Their leaves grow up to about 4 to 6 feet in diameter. For reference, I'm 6 feet tall here in this picture. One of the coolest things about them is that their flowers actually exhibit thermogenesis. This means that they create their own heat, and they can actually reach temperatures of up to 90 degrees Fahrenheit. But we're just getting started. Each flower only blooms for 2 nights. The first night, the flower is white and female, like you see here. The heat attracts nocturnal beetles which crawl in through this opening here. The flower provides carbohydrate reserves, which keeps the beetle orgy going all night long. In the morning, the flower closes up, trapping the beetles inside. On the second night, the flower opens as a pink male and begins releasing pollen. As the trapped beetles escape, they move past the anthers, carrying pollen with them to a fresh female flower for round 2. They're also covered in insane spine.
Houseplants you can't kill for first-time plant parents.
Quick tips on how to care for a money tree. In between waterings, you should always allow the soil to completely dry out. If the top layer of your soil looks like this, it needs to be watered. Money trees love a good watering, and you should water the plant thoroughly until it seeps through the drainage hole. This plant loves humidity. I usually let it sit next to a humidifier 1 to 2 times a week. Enjoy!
A shortcut to the chum bucket. That must be for me. This isn't the chum bucket.
I'm dying. Oh my god. H2O. I'm so thirsty. Water. Water. This is how I die. I'm not okay. I see the light. Oh shit. Wait. Water. Water. Yeah. Water. More water. Too much water. Wait. Water. Please that might be too much water. Giving me so much water.